All right, so good afternoon and welcome to today's session. As usual, my name is Michael Olafusi, and today's session is on bank reconciliation tips and financial reporting formulas. So formulas that will help you a lot in your financial analysis and reporting, especially when you need to do some reporting, maybe after you've done the bank reconciliation and you want to report the transactions that have happened. So without wasting time, because it's practical, I'm going to quickly just dive in. As usual, I need to let you also be aware that this is brought to you by UrBizEdge. We are the sponsors and we are into training and solutions. So especially the training part, if you feel you need training for Excel, Power BI, financial modeling, or Python, please come to us. So we guarantee you very excellent training. This is our calendar for the next couple of trainings we have anyway. You can always see this on our website anyway, yourbizedge.com. So I'm going to go straight to another of our sponsors. Financial Modeling Institute is one of our sponsors. And if you're interested in doing the AFM exam, the Advanced Financial Modeler exam, you are entitled to a 15% special discount. So I'm going to share all of these too. And then let me just quickly share these links so that we can move on. Today I'm both moderator and for training needs in the chat box. Then I think I forgot to put W there. Last week. Still didn't change to a website. Nonetheless, I'll move on. Then this one, if you're interested in doing the financial modeling exam, the 15% discount code. Let me share that also too. Just in case I forget, because I know today I'm going to rush a bit. I have loaded the agenda actually. So make sure before you disconnect, you give us your feedback. If you have somebody you would like us to bring on the show or topics. All right, so let's quickly go straight to what I have, bank reconciliation tips, and maybe I should also upload the file. So I have the practice file already. And yeah, I've already arranged it the way I want it to be. So maybe what I will do quickly so that, well, I'll share it at the end. So let's just not worry because I might add some extra things. All right, so let's start with bank reconciliation, right? So what are the common things that happens when you download a bank statement? This is an example of a blank statement. This is my own personal bank statement. I couldn't use the company one, but it's similar, So you will have transaction date, debit, credit, balance. So this category is not usually there. You're the one who sometimes might label things. And so for now, this is not normally there. Let me make this in gray so that you understand that I manually put this there. Okay. Then you will always have like a description or could be like comment, but it's usually description or remarks, that shows what are the explanations that the customer keyed in or whoever did the transfer, keyed in when doing the transfer, and it could be on your own side too. So now let's start with the main important thing, right? Number one is maybe you should forget about this. Let me hide this. Okay, good. So this is how it normally looks like, right? So what are the things I've seen people need to do? People need to pull out, for instance, there was a training that it was ICANN people, and the person who was in charge of some aspect of this bank reconciliation, he needed to pull out, for the month of February 2022, he needed to pull out um, membership, members payment, membership fees. So what they told people was that, whenever you are making your membership dues payment, always put your member number. Always put your. So they told them to put something specific. Yeah, when the thing will come anyway, it will come with extra other comments. But once I have that specific information, right? Yes, we can do it, right? So this is one example, but let's work with what I have first, right? Then we'll build up, to how you can begin to think of it in your own use. So let me start first with uh what is not always possible, but then it can be possible for some of us, right? So you might be able to label them. Maybe your transactions are not so much, or there's a quick way to label some. So if you label the transactions, right, then it will be a case of, okay, how can I get all the transactions that are for a particular time? So let me zoom my screen. So you could be like, okay, there's a formula called sum if anyway. So that's the main formula I want to take us through today. How can I get all the transactions that were for grocery, all the transactions that were for restaurants, all the transactions that were, maybe training related? So sum if, right? So I do equal to sum if because I want to explain this in a way that will be easy for anyone, whether you've used it before or not, to understand. I'm going to do fx. So it brings up this formula dialog box, right? And then it asks us for the range. Now, I tell people that whenever you are using a formula in Excel that you're not familiar with, just relax, and think of it as, if I was to do this thing manually, how would I have done it? And if I was to do this manually, will it not be that I will go to where all the listing of the categories are? So this automatically is the range. The range, of all the where I'm going to find those things I'm interested in, right? So now I pick the range. Then the next thing is, so what particular label, what particular type of transaction am I interested in, right? So I know for now, for this formula I'm doing, I'm interested in restaurants. So I'm saying that, you know what, go through all this list of labels, right? Wherever you find restaurant, yeah, that's my interest. That's the criteria that I have in mind, right? So next is where should you go to pick up the figures to sum up? Okay? So just to remind you that please help me mute yourself so that we will not have too much background noise. Okay, good. So back to what I was saying, the range of values. So range of labels, the particular label I'm interested in, and now the sum range, where the figures are. For this case now, right, we are looking for expenses. So obviously, it's the debit transactions. At least that's how the bank is going to label your expenses. They will come as, debit. So that's it, right? So I'm going to click OK. Let me just repeat it because I'm not going to repeat it again. And then we'll go to the one that I know people really, really are interested in. So you have taken the extra work of labeling the transactions. You use sum if and say, okay, go through my entire labels, right? Look for where the label is exactly this. So that's the criteria now, where the label is exactly, is exactly this. Then get for me the values that are in this particular column. So when you see restaurants, pick this value. When you see restaurant, pick this value, and sum them all up together for me, right? Awesome. So now I drag it down, and that is okay, right? So people know this one. This is not what I'm sure some people came here for, right? Now, why are some of us here? Okay, so let's look at it. If you look at some of these my transactions, you will see some interesting charges, right? So number one, you see stamp duty, right? You see the stamp duty. Uh, you see VAT. You see stamp duty, right? So you notice that there are some transactions that if you're an accountant, right, and at the end of the month, you will want to see what's the total VAT, what's the total stamp duty. Some people will even sum the two together and say those are bank charges, right? So you want to sum up all of this, but there's a problem. Let's look at the stamp duty for instance, right? The stamp duty is always having a figure attached, right? That figure can change. Look at it here now. The figure has changed here, right? So the figure here is 30621 blah blah. Here it was 260621 something. Here it was 2426. So that you don't have control over what the bank is going to append in the description, but you know for certain that there's going to be stamp duty in that description, right? So how then are we going to use Excel to, gather together? Let's start with the stamp duty, as I've mentioned. Stamp duty. To gather together all the transactions that are for stamp duty, right? So ready? Ready? The answer is wildcards. So what we're going to tell Excel is this. We're going to say, Excel, look through all of here and check wherever it starts with stamp duty. That's what I'm interested in. When it starts with stamp duty. Now, the problem is this. If you come here and you say, stamp duty, right? And you go and you start typing our formula as we would originally, let me do the FX. Let me zoom my screen so you see clearly. And we say, okay, yeah, where's the range of all the labels? Well, in this case, the range of all the labels are the remarks, these descriptions, right? And then the question number 2 is, so what am I specifically interested in? I'm interested in a label that is I'm interested in a label that is stamp duty. So I'm interested in stamp duty, right? Then the next thing is, okay, so where should I go grab the figures and sum up for you? So in this case, I need Excel to sum up the figures that, again, these are debit charges. So I need Excel to sum up the figures that are in debit charge column, right? So I pick column G, right? C. Now if I click OK, it's going to tell me you can't find it. And you know why? Excel is looking exactly for stamp duty. If I come here, right? So if you look at this transaction, this is let me just make this bold. Bold. This is 100 naira, right? If I come here and I remove every other thing, such that this thing is just exactly stamp duty, you will see the 100 naira has been picked. But we know that that's not how our data comes in. So we need something in Excel to say, okay, as long as it starts with stamp duty, and that's where this comes into play. So this is what we are going to use, right? So we're going to tell Excel that, you know what, as long as it starts with stamp duty, which means stamp duty and anything, any character after is asterisk. So stamp duty and any character after. That asterisk is the magic tool, magic adjustments we are making. Once I do this, voila. Now it's going to get out for me all of the stamp duty transactions, right? Just so that you will understand clearly, I'm going to increase this. I'm going to make this 1,100. I'm going to add 1,000 naira extra to this, right? And if this is correct, this should change to 4,050. Let's do that. I had 1,000. Yeah, it's working as expected, as illustrated. Okay, so now that is clear. Let's talk about, let's look for another one. I will just cherry pick a few. Let's look at POS, cash withdrawal, airtime purchase. Okay, well, nonetheless, I want to move to something else. So what I'm going to do is, there are transactions that were built because we use Google for a lot of our services. Well, they are one of the services we use. So anytime they bill us, it could be that they bill us for Google AdSense, it could be that they bill us for our email, it could be that they bill us for, I don't know, whatever it is that could come up, but we use many services from Google. So it's like a major expense category, similarly to for Microsoft. So now, what do I want? What I will say, as long as in this description, right, there is Google there. So it could be, blah, 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 then yada, yada, yada. So what am I saying? Google could be sandwiched between some things I don't care about, right? So how do I achieve that? Anybody want to take a guess? So what am I going to type? So I want you to guess. I'm going to give you two options, or no, three options. Option 1, option 2, option 3. And I need you to tell me either you type it, you know, or you unmute and say it. But then I'm going to give you three options. So I want to know if you're following me, right? So am I going to do this? Or I'm going to do this? I'm going to do this. So which of these three options do you think is going to work? Huh? Remember what I want, right? I don't care what is before Google. I don't care what is after Google. As long as there's Google in the description, I need the formula to pull up all of the values, where there's a Google in the description. So anyone wants to give it a try? What am I going to use? Am I going to use 1 or 2 or 3? So these are the options, that I want you to pick from. Anybody? Anybody? Option 2. Okay, so someone is saying option 2. Anybody else want to say something? Oh, good. 2 people have said option 2. Great. I'm happy you're all following me. So yes, the right answer is option 2. I'm going to put this here. So with this, I can move on to another thing because it seems you've gotten what I want to illustrate. So this can be very useful. You want to pull up the back changes. You want to pull out, transactions that have some labels there that are consistent, especially when you have mandated your people in your company that whenever they are posting some expenses, they should always put maybe the GL number or put something that will always help you identify the category of expense. Then you will see that this wildcard is going to make your life easy. You might not control what your customers will do, but at least you can always control what your internal staff, do when they are posting expenses. All right, so let's see how it works. The range, as again, is going to be the description. Then the particular criteria. Now, the particular criteria is this adjusted one. Is this one that has the wild card. And then the sum range is going to be now this is expense. So it's going to be again the debit, column. All right, so that's the end of it, right? Yeah, I'm going to move to another formula, another aspect of my presentation today. So, but is this all clear? This is something that whenever I see people struggle, and they ask about how can they make their work faster, and I do this. Yeah, it doesn't solve all the problem 100%, but that 40%, 50%, 60% that it solves automatically is time that you have gained. It could be like 3 hours equivalent of time you've gained back. So, but any question before I move on to another concept? So, are you saying we are good with this? I can carry on. All right. So, thank you very much. I'm going to carry on to the next. So, the next one that I have is well, let me follow my arrangement. So, this one, index. Index is a formula that I say every finance person, if you are into finance, accounting, maybe even if you are also outside of finance, but obviously and definitely if you're in finance, please know this formula. Please just know this formula. So let me first explain how it works in a neutral way, right? So I'm going to pull up my writing pad. Going to hope there is no background noise. Yes. Can you hear me loud and clear? I have my miners. I'm mining Bitcoin, so they are making noise. They have one particular what do they call it, power pack. That one is a noise maker. If I'm going to buy again, I won't buy that power pack. All right, so index, right? I tell people that index is like an addressing system. That's what I tell people. Addressing system. I hope my grammar is correct. Right? So it's like I have your streets. Then all I need is just your house number. If I have your house number, I can identify your house, right? So there are two ways that it's being used. There's the one where I'm using it around a list, and there's when I'm using it around a table, right? There's a third way, but again, I'm not going to bother you and myself about, what I'm not really interested in showing us. So let's start with a list. If I have a list, it could be horizontal list, it could be vertical list, doesn't care, So if I have a list, which is easier for me to draw, let me draw a vertical list. So I have a list. I have item A, item B, item C, item D, item E. So this is a list, right? Then also too, you could have a table. Let me do it this way. So that I'll have 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'll have 5 rows. No, I don't have 5. I don't want 5 rows anymore. Quickly scroll. Whenever I do undo, it scrolls up also. Good. So I'm okay with this. All right. So let's see how. So let's just say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I thank God I did only 4 rows. J, K, L. Right? I have this. How will I use index? Right? So let's start with. Number one thing is, what are you interested in? What is the particular record you want to pull out? That's why I say if this is your street, all I need is your house number, right? So if you look at this, right, this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if I want this, if this is what I want, then what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to say index the list, the option number. That's all. So what that means is that in this particular case, I'm going to write index. Index. Maybe this is like, let's see, C1 to C5. So this is like maybe C1 to C5. Then I need the third option. So I'm going to be like option 3. And that's all. Okay. Maybe if I write it here, index, so that it's all one line, C1 to C5, option 3 is going to get me that. Okay. Then if I'm doing this one and what I need, let's say maybe what I need is this guy, right? So in this case, it's going to be index. Let me look for who is also trying to talk in the background. All right. So in this case, it's going to still be index. For the table one, it's still going to be index. Let me write it here. Index table. So the usual pattern is row number first, right? Column number next. Now let's forget about every other thing. This is what I want to focus on, right? So in that case, if I'm doing for this one, where I need the H, right? So I could be like index. Maybe this is a A1 to C4, right? So this would be like row 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is also like column 1, 2, 3. So if you look at it, this is actually row 3, column 2, row 3, column 2, right? So once you have this knowledge, right, oh boy, you're going to see how index is going to keep making your life easy. Even when you use index and match, this is essentially what you're doing. But most people like to just blend the two formulas together, and they think that's the only way you use index. You must use it in addition to match. Forget about all of that. Just look at the way I'm explaining it, look at it in this simple way, and your life in using index will never remain the same. So now let's demonstrate what I've said, but instead of me writing it in words now, I'm going to actually do them in Excel. Okay, so I have items here now. Item 001. I'm going to make this all big. Oh no, I can zoom anyway. So bold center. So my question to us, if you think about this, and I need this item, right? Okay, so if I do index equal to index, look at my time. I think I need to be faster now. So if I do index, right, and I pick the list, I want to ask you, what am I going to indicate Now, what am I going to say? This is an example of a list. What number do you think I'm going to put in as the option number? Anybody wants to give it a try? Let me go check if anybody is answering. Awesome. Emmanuel has helped me. 6. And guess what? That's what we come up. Now, let's do something interesting, right? I'm going to flip this table. I'm going to flip it so that it's not going to be horizontal. I mean, vertical. It's going to be horizontally arranged. So let's do the flipping. Good. It's looking funny anyway. Well, let's not worry too much about the way it's looking, so I don't, in fixing that, scatter something else. So let's just pick something interesting, right? Let me make it align horizontally. I mean, center, so that it's easy to know which number is for what. So I want this one. I want this item. So what do you think I will put when I'm doing my index, when I'm putting the option? Again, help me out. What do you think will be the option? After I select the list, what am I going to put as the option number? Anybody? Anybody wants to give it a try? What will I put as the option number? Anybody? Anyone? Awesome. 3. So you see that this works regardless of. Why is it complaining? Sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, all the way down. Comma 3. Good. So you see that this works regardless of the shape, right? No, it's only one thing I'm putting 3. Emmanuel, I see your answer. This is still the only option I'm selecting. If you look at my selection, see? So it doesn't care if it is a horizontal list or a vertical list, right? As long as it's a list, it's not a table, it's a list, a single width list. Let me use that word, then just option number. Okay, now that is clear, let's do an example of a table. So this is an example of a list. I call it a list, someone else can call it something else, but then so that we don't mistake it. A table now. So again, I'm going to do putting some random figures so that I can be faster. So now let's say I want this, something easy for all of us to know. Let's say I want this. So I want this, right? Then let's think about the positioning. Okay, so what do you think I'm going to write? In this case, this is a table. So I need to provide, first of all, the table, then the row number and the column number. So what do you think I'm going to write? I need that yellow one. So if you look at the numbering, what do you think I'm going to write as row? And then what am I going to write as column number? Anybody? 8, row 8, comma 2, column 2. So row comes before the column. So Emmanuel says 8, comma 2. Ibrahim says 2, comma 8. But it's actually 8, comma 2 because it's row first before the column. So once you remember that, you see, it got me the 20. And if you think it's not that one, if I change it to 99, you see that it actually still gets me that particular one. So now it looks very simple. Now, where is the magic? Let's go see where the magic comes in. So a lot of us like to do scenarios in our planning. It could be strategic plan, it could be financial model, right? So when you are doing scenarios, what essentially you are saying is that I want to give flexibility. I have written that this is what we are going to do. I've said we are manufacturing 4 products: face mask, hand sanitizer, test tube, syringes, right? I have taken the pain to look for the figures that are representative of what we are going to face. How much can we produce per year, maybe per month? Then I collapsed everything, rolled it up into a year, rolled it. Then unit price, how much are we going to sell a pack of face masks? How much is it going to cost us to produce? Like that. I've done that for hand sanitizer, test tube, syringes, right? Now, the key thing is that if I have this information, so let me just grab all of this. Anybody can have this. So that's why there's nothing special about this one. Let me grab it and post it here, right? So now I have this information, right? the thing is this. I want to create a scenario sheet. I want to create a scenario. I spell scenario now. Jesus Christ. I might find it difficult to spell scenario. All right, so I want to create a scenario sheet. What will it be like? So I'm saying I want to create a best case and worst case. Let's say I come here and grab all of this. Yeah. And you make it big. So I want to be able to say, okay, you know what? Mr. Bolaji, Mr. Adeji, Mr. Glory, Mr. Madam Choma, you know, I'm calling people's random names. You know, I want you to be able to select a scenario. So I want to say select a scenario. And then what do? Let's use the one that is nice to use anyway. If you don't know how to use this one, you go and read you read up online or watch another of our YouTube session. If you go to our YouTube, I did a session specifically on this. But anyway, just follow me mentally. Then when you watch the video, just follow Baba, you know, blindly if you don't understand it. Developer, you know, insert drop down, which is a combo box anyway. So good. Now I'm going to say I want to provide 3 scenarios, right? I want to provide scenarios that are like Nigerian naira. Okay, so I want to provide scenarios that are best case, base. Let me use a different word. Let me just use base. People used to always, because the spelling is very close to best case, so they kind of like always like, why do I have 2 best case? Anyway, best case, right? So I'm going to say, you know what? I want the user to be able to select. So I say format control, right? Select from all of these. Let me drag this here. So you select from any of these cases. So that's my input range. Whatever you select, my stuff should reflect it here, right? You know, so this is not the main bone of what I want to show. So I might not repeat this one too many times, but just know that you specify the options that the person will have in the input range. You specify where Excel should keep track of what the option the user has picked, you know. Okay, good. Those are the 2 things you need to worry about. Then you do okay. And from that day onwards, you always have all of this, right? So if the person picks best case, now why am I needing to do this? Awesome. Why I'm needing to do this is that I want to say for face mask, I want to say for this face mask, right? I don't want to be blind to reality, right? I don't want to be rigid in my thinking. I want to be able to say, you know what? We will have 1, 2, 3, then a space. We will have 3 scenarios. We will have 3 scenarios. We will have a best case scenario. In fact, let me just copy this one so that I don't waste too much time typing. I'm going to make them, you know, align this way so it's easy. Then what am I going to say? I'm going to be like, okay, now whatever you know, I'm going to move these ones here temporarily so that you will see what I'm doing a lot easier instead of me scrolling too much. So everything will fit in one screen. Awesome. So I'm going to say that my base case is we produce this amount. So this one now, I'm going to say this is my base case. So this is what is most likely to happen based on our plans and, you know, the reality. This is what we think will happen. This is what we have put in our model assumptions or input sheets, you know. Good. And then I want to say this can go either way. I'm doing like a simulation of an entire range of outcome and say, you know what if, you know, we are able to just produce 400,000, much less than what we thought, you know, what if we are able to produce just 500,000 next year? Maybe the plant is not as reliable. Maybe our staff, we couldn't work them as hard as we thought. Whatever it is, that could be the reason, right? But it's a very valid thing to do. You want to be able to like say, what if we miss our target by some amount? Does that mean we're going to make a loss, or what would be play out? Then what if it's the other way around? We're able to drive production, a lot faster than we thought before. Maybe somehow we're able to optimize production and use the factory close to its capacity, right? So maybe the factory's capacity is like 650, or I don't know. But the key thing is, what if we're able to do better than what we thought? That's the thing I want to pull out from here. So that's how, with scenarios, you are going to be able to do what I'm saying. So the user will come here and say, I want to run this scenario. I want to run this scenario. I want to run this scenario. And you want it that whatever they pick is what will reflect here. So this is where, ladies and gentlemen, index comes to play. Why? I have list of options and I have the option number. Let me repeat. I have list of options. In fact, maybe you've not been following me very well. Let me write it out. This is like I have a list of options. List of options. So this is a list. Then here is where the option number is, right? So when you come here and you pick worst case, it's as if you have picked option number 3. When you come here and you pick best case, you have picked option number 2. So what do? Ladies and gentlemen, I do our index formula and say I have this list of options, right? And this is the option number the user is picking, right? And that is it. So from that moment onwards, let me just make it comma style, right? Comma style with no zeros. From that moment onwards, right, I have created a dynamic scenario system where if you come here and you pick worst case, the figure changes to worst case. If you come here and you pick best case, the figures change it. And what's making it happen? That index formula that I just showed us. So that index formula is really, really useful. It's something that I always tell people that, if you're an accountant, please know it. Forget about index and match now. No index in itself, right? So because of time, I will just quickly, 1, 2, 3, 4, replicate this for the other ones, which is not difficult. I'm just going to grab what I've done here, paste them here, paste here. Then I'm going to change this one and say, you know what, in fact, I should link this to automatically pick from here. Okay. Then I'm going to say this. Let me just delete all of this. The good thing with Excel formulas is the formula is still there. So you only need to type it once, right? So I'll say, okay, price for our base case, is whatever price that we have said here, right? So this is the price. If everything goes as we have planned. But what if things go better, right? Maybe we're able to charge, about 10% higher. And then what if we're not able to charge as much as we, planned or thought? Scenarios, upper and lower range around our pricing, and see what will happen, in these scenarios, right? Good. And again, if you come here, you pick worst case, base case, worst case, everything changes, right? They're similar for cost, but I don't want to do cost now because of time. So how does this play out? If you now have a revenue sheet, you have a sheet where you're going to now show what the company's revenue is, right? The revenue sheet. I'm going to say revenue that we're going to make from Facemask. So face mask, how do I spell mask? Face mask is a combination of volume and unit price. Okay. Are you following? And then if you look at it, if you follow along with all what we've been doing before now, you will see that I have those figures already. I just say the volume from my scenario is whatever volume that is tallying with the scenario you have picked. Bam. The unit price is the price that tallies with the scenario you have picked. Again, bam. And then the money we are making is going to be unit price times volume, right? So I'm going to tell Excel to do this all command style. It looks like the money is plenty. Okay, good. And then I drag, right? And then this revenue is going to be, assuming I've done for the other products, I will sum them all up, right? And then I have income statements. So you see how these things keep flowing even down to balance sheet and cash flow, and all of your future plans. Let me just put it that way, right? So I have income statements. And then, as we all know, the first item in income statement is your top line, the revenue. From there, you will have your cost of sales and blah, blah. And guess what? The revenue here is going to be exactly the revenue here is going to be the figure that is going to come out from here. Okay, so now we can relax and see the beauty of what we have done. Look at this figure. Just take a very good look at this figure. For 2024, our revenue is 864 million. But then you know what? If you come here and you choose a different scenario and say, let us check the best case scenario, guess what? This has changed. So this is how you create scenarios within your plan, such that anytime you change the scenario, everything, all of your projections and everything you've done forward, begins to reflect the scenario you have picked. And what has made that possible? Again, index. Okay, so that's why I want people to be aware of index. Okay, so that's index. I can skip this one because this might not be useful for accountants. It's not good for you to be generating figures. Oh, okay, I'll do it really quick. I never can tell where it might be useful. So anyway, how can I use index to randomly allocate things, right? So take, for instance, right, that we are trying to create 5 groups, and I have how many staff? I have 100 staff, right? 100 people. I want to split them across 5 groups, right? I want to randomly place them in groups, right? Think about it, right? Is it not that I'm saying index? These are the list of groups. Then I want to put you in a specific group, right? If I put you in group 1, then this is group 1. If I put you in group 2, then that is group 2. But we have just 5 groups, right? And I want to randomly put all these 100 people in groups, right? What do? Instead of manually typing the group number, I will say Excel should generate a random number between 1 and 5 for me. Can you see? So what do? I've specified the list of options. I've now told Excel, get me, a random group number between, a random option between 1 and 5. So that if you are option 4, you will be group D. So this is just it anyway. So I do this and I drag down. Okay, I need to lock some places. So I need to make this absolute. That's reference. Then I drag down. And guess what? I now have a list. I now have a formula that has automatically, let me make this bigger. Now I have a formula that has automatically allocated these people to different groups. So if you have that kind of a need, then that will do it for you. All right, so let's go to some products. I think I can only do one of these two. Actually, this one is more important. You know what? Let's do this one. This one is more important. So let's do min and max. Maybe another time I'll do some product. So I tell people that whenever they are working on any model, or they are working, when I say model, it doesn't have to be a financial model, a pricing model, for instance, a cost model, a procurement model, how we're going to charge our fees and commissions kind of model, right? So think about it. If you say, I'm a broker, I don't know whether it's insurance broker you are, or you are an FX broker, you help somebody source for FX, you get a cut of it. Well, anyway, your fees are your fees are a percentage, like commissions. Your fees are, let me just say, your income, your earning are commissions, percentage or commissions, percentage that's pegged, right? So what do I mean? Let's talk about scenario one or case one. You charge 2% of the transaction volume, right? This is straightforward. But what if you always want to have a minimum or 5,000 naira? So you will never collect less than 5,000 naira, right? So the thing is, whichever is higher. Whichever is higher. Are you getting the stuff now? So you will always get at least 5,000 naira. So now let's flip it and say case two. Maybe CBN has fixed it and say, so you want to peg it at 10,000 naira, whichever is lower. So you will always charge 2%, but you will never collect more than 10,000 naira. So at a point, no matter how much the transaction volume is, higher, maybe from, I don't know, maybe by the time we get to 5 million naira, from that 5 million naira above, like 5 million naira, 20 million naira, 50 million naira, you will get the same 10 million naira commission. So it's always like 2% capped at 10,000 naira. So anyway, let's write it this way so that it's easier to understand. So I tell people that whenever you have all these upper limits and lower limits, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to meet these two formulas, min and max. Okay, so these are the formulas for capturing limits in your computation. It works also in tax. In tax, now when you are doing your income tax, you will not pay tax when your profit before tax is negative, is a loss, right? So what are we saying? We are saying, okay, 30% of your profit before tax or zero, whichever is higher. So that whenever you make a loss, and 2% of a loss will be less than zero, well, government will not give you back money anyway. So, they will charge you zero. So this is applicable. Some other times people use this to calculate cash sweep. So they will be like, okay, whenever we have excess cash, right, then we should be able to take, either 30%, but capped at, I don't know, maybe at 2 million naira, whatever the outstanding debt is. So we want to sweep 30% of our excess cash to pay down our debt faster. So what are we doing? We are like, again, doing something like this, where you're going to be like 30%, or the outstanding debt, whichever is lower now. It will be lower so that you don't go and pay more than what if the 30, if you are owing 5,000 naira and your 30% of our extra cash is 10,000 naira, where you pay only just the 5,000 naira you owe. So now that I've explained this, I want to ask you a very simple question, right? So what do you think I will use for upper, and what do you think I will use for lower limit? So let's start for upper limit. What do you think I will use for upper limit? Will I use max or min? Now, this is the trick. Look at it and tell and mention what comes to your mind first. Don't overthink it. Just like if you see upper limit, what comes to your mind? If you see lower limit, what comes to your mind? Then, give me that answer. Just tell me or write it in the chat box. What comes to your mind if you want to do upper limit or lower limit, and you have to choose between min and max? Which one looks more like you will use for upper limit? Which one looks much more like you will use it for lower limit? Can you tell me what comes to your mind? Anybody? So while you are trying to do that, let me be cooking up figures for us. So the transaction amount, and then your fees. Okay. So let me just put different amounts. What if the transaction amount was 10,000 naira, was 50,000 naira, was like 500? No, let me use different figures. 400,000 naira. Was 900,000 naira. And let me use a really large figure, 10 million naira. 12, so that it looks really different. So I'm going to again do similar here. So let me go check our answers in the chat box. Good. So everybody's saying upper max, lower min. You're really, really following me. So I always tell people, the key thing is, I'm going to write it in red, make it big, make it bold. Whatever comes to your mind, please flip it. Whatever comes to your mind. So if I flip what you said upper is max, lower is min. When you flip it, upper becomes min, lower becomes max. And that's all. See how we're going to apply it, right? What did we say? We said that your fees is 2%. This times 2%. So if there were no limits, right? This is what you would have done. This is what we would have done, right? But now we have, in case one, we have a limit. Now I want to ask you, the limit we have in case one, right? Is it a upper limit or a lower limit? If you look at it, it's a upper limit. We are saying we will always charge, whatever is higher of the two. We have said we will always charge, 5,000 and above. If we calculate it, if your 2% is not up to 5,000, we take the higher one, which is 5,000, right? So if you look at what I've said, upper limit, right? So we have set the upper limit. We have we always charge whatever is higher. Then in that case, there's you will say min. You'll be like, okay, I'll come here and wrap the formula. I know that if you overthink this, it will start twisting in your head. So don't overthink it. Just think about it this way. That am I saying that, whichever is higher? So in this case, whichever is higher means like I'm setting a upper limit, right? And then what that means is I need to use min. So I'll say, okay, either this or 5,000 or a minimum of 5,000 naira. So at least I must always get 5,000 naira. Oh boy, I've mixed it up. Oh. Sorry. Let me rewind my explanation. Undo. So I'm going to rephrase what I've said. When you have, let's draw it. When you draw things, it's a lot easier anyway. What we are saying is this, that, well, for this one now, we're saying your transaction fee will always not be less than 5,000 naira. It can be higher, right? So what I will say, we have set a lower limit. Okay. Then this other one is like, we've set the upper limit of 5,000 naira, or it can be lower. So we have set the upper, or is it an upper limit now? Okay, so if you think of it that way, then what I've said will now be for question one is we have a lower limit. So we are doing max. Max. And what's the upper limit? 5,000 naira. Okay, so that's the right explanation. Apologies for the confusion, right? But all what I've said is still valid in terms of whatever comes to your mind, flip it. So where I did a call, where I confused myself is in this, which is why it's good to draw it. If you ever think that maybe I should have changed my wording, So I should have just said, we have set a lower limit. So this is like as the lower limit, 5,000 as the lower. That makes it a lot more straightforward instead of using a more technical sounding word. And then this is like we have set the upper limit. Set as upper limits. So I think with this way of explaining it, it's easier to understand. All right, so I'm going to come here, do the formula as it will have been. I think I've done it already anyway. It's just that we have upper limits, which means we will do mean. Mean, comma, the 10,000 naira. Okay. So what that means is you will always be charged, but never more than 10,000 naira. So you see at some point, the charge flats out at 10,000 naira. So this is where I'm going to stop because I cannot finish some products, what I want to explain in some product in 1 minute. So, but any questions, right? Any questions from what we've covered? I know if you ask me, this is one of the more important concepts I needed you to grasp. The ability to use wildcards with your sum if so that you can be able to pull out transactions summary, summarize your bank statement faster for your reconciliation process. It might not fix everything. Maybe it fixes half of it. That's half that you will not need to use your own manual time, time to manually do. Then this one, so I took time to explain index. So once you understand index this way, you will never get it wrong. And it's a formula that is very versatile. People use it for all kinds of things beyond even what I've said, beyond the index and match most people are aware of. And then this one, whenever you have limits, you need to capture limits, be it for cash sweep, for tax computation, for, in this case, commissions that you want to calculate that needs to be capped, set at a lower limit or at a upper limit, right? Then you use this. I said, think of whatever comes to your mind when you hear upper and lower, flip it. Then when you need to use a lower limit, you will know that will be max. So we've said there's a limit, we will never charge lower than 5,000 naira, so max. Then when we need to set the upper limit, that will never charge more than something, then use mean. Okay, so any questions? Yes, sir, Mr. Glory, I see your hand up, sir. Yes, you can say, you can talk, you can unmute. Let me see if my own speaker is working. But I know you are not yet talking. You are still muted. You can unmute yourself and yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. I enjoy your presentation, but just one question, maybe a little bit different from today's presentation. I just want to know, is there any unique difference between the terminology, business plan, and financial model? Are they one and the same thing, or are they two different things?
Thank God that I work on the consulting side. So if a customer calls us and says he wants a business plan, We always tell him no because we don't do business plan. Why? It involves feasibility study. It involves market research. So we are expected to go and check out whether their business will work out, like what's the pricing, what's the, how can they price, what's the market share. We might even need to buy some market research data from Nielsen or from GfK markets research. And I think there's one third thing too. And then the business process. So we need to, some people will say there are different methodologies people use, but these days now, there's a very common one that is called the business model canvas. So you might be using some special framework. So there's this business model canvas that helps you to build a proper business plan that will capture who will be your suppliers, who will be your distributors, who will be your customers, what will be the strategic channel you will sell through. That will like link together all your research and how the business is supposed to work. And so business plan always involve all this, and none of these things I've listed here is financial model, none of it. So the other thing is some customers need both actually. So what used to happen is the people they eventually used to do business plan, then they will now also tell them that you need to raise money, or bank is asking for financial model, or an investor is asking for financial model. Can you also do financial model? So sometimes those people might not know how to do financial model. They will now reach out to me and say, oh, I got this project, we're doing a business plan, but the client says he also wants a financial model, and that's not our area of competence. And some other times it's the client that will call us and say he wants both, or they might say they want business plan, but by the time they explain what they want to do with it, we know that they also need financial model. Or sometimes they will say they want financial model, then they will be like, we should go and get the figures ourselves. We should go and help them to research what the market is like, how they will set up. I'll be like, no, that one is not financial model anymore. Go and hire another person to do feasibility study, in fact, somebody that will do business plan. Then, so what is to happen is business plan comes before financial model, because it is the market research data that you do. It's from market research that we will know what's going to be your pricing, your reasonable pricing. So if you want to produce something that will be like Coca-Cola now, the person who did business plan now, who did market research, we know that, okay, you cannot do your own Coca-Cola equivalent product, your own Coke now. I want to sell it 500 naira per bottle. Nobody is going to buy it. In fact, you probably want to sell a slightly cheaper than maybe everybody's selling 150. Well, to retailers, Coca-Cola might actually be selling now 120 naira. So they be like, you should sell your own at 100. So it's from market research, the price will come out. It's from market research. If the person did thorough job, we should be able to estimate what your cost of production will be. It's from market research, we will know, it's from the business plan anyway, we will know what your marketing spend should be like. What will be your marketing strategy, how much you should spend. Are you going to need to do advert? Are you going to need to sponsor Big Brother Africa so that they will, how much it will cost you? It's from there we will have an idea of, what will be the capacity of your production. So are you going to set up a 2 million bottles factory per year or per month? So it's from the business plan that all these high level information, or all this information, let me not say just that they come as high level, will be what we will now begin to use as inputs into the financial model. Then we will now be asking you, so what is to happen is when they give me a business plan, the business plan, we have some of those information, but sometimes it does not have the timing. So they might say, oh, we are going to spend 800 million naira to set up the factory between 2022 and 2023 to be completed in 2023. We're going to be pushing out a 100 million naira volume of products, So they will say all those big words in Microsoft Word and in PowerPoint. But when I'm doing financial model, I don't care. What I care about is, give me the timing. That factory that you are saying is going to be constructed from this year and it's going to be completed next year, right? Don't just tell me you're going to spend 800 million naira across these 2 years like this. It doesn't make any sense for me. What makes sense for me in financial model is to say, what are you spending it on? Okay, we are buying plants. Now that plant, it will, by setting it up in phases. Phase 1 will cost us 500 million naira, or let me use a more 200 million naira. Phase 2 will cost us 250 million naira. We're going to buy vehicles. But these vehicles, maybe we'd rather buy it when the whole plant is ready. So we're buying 200 million naira vehicles. We're buying equipment. So now this equipment, there are some equipment we will need to support the plant, and the production side. So 100 million naira. But once it's ready, we'll now have to kit the other admin staff and blah blah. So maybe we'll buy another. These are the things that I now start forcing them to say, you know what, you can't just tell me you're going to spend X amount of money in the next 2 years. You have to break them down and give me the timing and because now I need whether this one is going to be 10 years, maybe this one is 4 years depreciation. So that's where I know that, okay, financial business plans, most business plans, we never have that granularity. But in pattern, business plan comes first before financial model. And the kind of people that will be able to do both, just know that that is going to be a big work, because this business plan alone is not small work, and you sometimes might have guys that might need to go on field. You need to buy secondary data from people that will tell you what's the market like, what's the total addressable market, what's the incumbents, the people in that industry, what's their pattern of production and spending, because your own cannot deviate too much. Who are the suppliers? How can you also secure supplies? Because there's some industries where you want to go into beer production. Maybe all the people that produce the grains, all the raw materials, they are not available anymore. All of them are either working for Guinness or they are working for Nigerian breweries. If you go and meet them, they will never sell to you, because everything the one that they have not produced, the plant they have not planted, yet alone harvest, they have bought it already. So business plan will tell you all those things, will uncover all those ones. But me, financial model, I don't care. I'm going to just be looking at the figures and be trusting that you have done due diligence in those figures. So that's the way, for me, that's the difference.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay, sir. You're welcome, sir. Any other questions as we wrap this session? Okay, and in absence of any questions, I will just quickly say, let me share this file. And again, don't forget to let me just let me stop sharing my screen. I want to share the file and share some links. Please give us your feedback. So I'm sharing the feedback link. If you are intending to take the AFM exam, please, AFM is one of our sponsors. Take advantage of the coupon, 15% coupon, which if you pay now, it's on top of the 40% that they've already given right now for early bird. So which is very good. It's as if you're getting like 55% discount or what. Then if you need any training need, please visit our website. So now let me upload the file so that it's easy for what we have done today. I'm going to share the file for us. So if you want to practice, you can practice. Trying to upload it anyway. I can share my screen again so that you see my progress. And if you are interested in our Excel session, there's another session coming up by 4 p.m. I will also share the link. So while this one is trying to upload, let me just grab that one and share the link to you too. So there's a 4 o'clock session. If you go here, and then there's a 6 o'clock session. The 4 o'clock session is Excel. The 6 o'clock session is around Power BI. But we're always getting interesting speakers. So for today's 4 o'clock, let me quickly start uploading. While that one is loading. For the 4 o'clock session, you can see Well, it's interesting. An elaborate study of content creation. 4 p.m. today. Okay. Let me upload. Let me quickly dump this in the chat box. So if you're interested in the 4 p.m. session, let me upload. I'm at the last stage of uploading. Let me close the file so that it won't cause problem. It will now look corrupt. So upload file. Pick the file. This is the file. Upload. So while that one is uploading, let me quickly grab you the 6 o'clock session. So 6 o'clock session is on AI, which is always interesting because nobody knows yet how it's going to come and bite them in their industry. Everybody just knows that a lot more automation will happen, but you don't want to be in the dark. You want to be aware of how it can disrupt your own space. So most people join this so that they can just be aware, even if they don't even know if they will use it, right now in their specific job. So I've finished uploading, I think. Let me just grab it, tell it to grab for me the perfect. So today's practice file. Good. So I've pasted it. So I'll just give you like 1 or 2 minutes to grab it before I end the session. Then if you miss out on any of our sessions, you can always watch the recording. So the recording of the sessions, right? Recording of the past sessions are always available at paste it too. So by now you should have gotten the practice file. I'm going to end the meeting right now. Let me just see if anybody has. Okay. So thank you very, very much, and have a pleasant Sunday. And this is where we draw the curtain for today's session. So bye. See you next week, and see you in the other sessions too. Bye.